A very good morning to all viewers all across the world. Welcome to your Poetic Interlude on the Weekend Show. My name is Emeka Ozurumba, and today I have with me the writer of this lovely book, Politics, Pussy and Power, which is a book written by Adaora. And I'm first going to read a little excerpt from the book, page 71. It says, for example, in the realm of politics in Nigeria, gender stereotypes and double standards persist, casting a shadow over the experiences of women. Female politicians are often subjected to scrutiny based on their appearance, personal lives, and marital status, while their male counterparts face far less scrutiny in these areas. These perpetuate a culture of judgment and objectification, diverting attention from substantive issues and undermining the potential of women in leadership roles. She goes on in the next page to tell us solutions to this by saying, to address the intersection of power, gender, and the exploitation of sex, efforts must be made to empower women in politics. This involves dismantling patriarchal structures, promoting gender equality, and cultivating an inclusive political landscape where women are valued for their ideas, expertise, and leadership capabilities. By nurturing the talents of female politicians and providing equal opportunities, we can pave the way for a more diverse and representative political sphere. Adaora, there's something I really love about your advocacy for gender. It's not just mouth, it's not just rhetoric. You take it to, you really take it to the streets. You make change, you impact the people. And I know in Nigeria we just have about 7% legislative representation of women, and it's supposed to be about 23%. So what can you say to our political stratosphere on how they can inculcate women more into the fabric of politics?
Well, thank you so much, Emeka, for inviting me to the show. I think that is even less. I think we have about 4%. I think, yes, it's another decline. And if you look at, African politics in the sub-Saharan Africa as a whole, you will find out that there are countries who are doing better. For instance, Rwanda. Of course, you have Rwanda, you have, countries like Mozambique, you have countries like Senegal, and countries that like South Africa, are on the threshold of increasing. But then there's a decline in Nigeria, and that is quite sad. And that it's sad because we are one of the largest, currency of women voters, and the ability to actually maximize that, it's seen by other African countries as an advantage. But where do we have to meet that crossroad? And that's looking at quota system. And again, when we talk about political participation, they are in different stratosphere. You're talking about politics at the community level. You're talking about politics of policy making. You're also talking about politics of governance and decision making, which brings the lobbying, into the hemisphere. But it's not without hope. Like I said, if we can only look at the conversation of inclusive governance through quota system, having that as an ability to have women in the room and on the table. Rwanda had done it. Of course, we have seen countries like Kenya also applying it, Ghana as well. Of course, we know Ghana has its first vice female president, and Namibia the first female president, in the last elections in 2024. And all of this is because of, genuine intentionality towards quota systems. But will Nigeria look at that as an inroad? The House of Representatives has made the market saying, okay, we've passed the bill second reading for 74 extra seats, looking at quota systems. So perhaps we may look at that. But I think that politics is local, and women must go back home to begin to galvanize.
Yes, because when I was reading your book, I was so fascinated because there were many things I learned, like where you said politics. Now, not T-I-C-S, T-I-C-K-S, like parasites on people. So I was like, that's such a lovely aphorism, like, making people understand that politics is not just about power, but about control. Because you said control and power are two different things. Can you give us that concept?
Yeah, the complexity of that, nomenclature is the fact that you're a politician, I'm a politician, we are all politicians. Yes. Because we actually bring voice and action to the decisions that are made by the leaders. We are the ones who go out to vote. We are the ones who lobby, whether emotionally, on or offline. You're the ones who argue about the power process. And that's in itself, the citizens' power. But again, you look at the power of positioning, the power of contest and context. And that's where, you have the issue of power coming. power is also selfish, especially when you find it in the wrong hands of the wrong politician. It becomes self-centered. It's not about the people. It becomes a tool. And so you see that often play out where you see politicians, take the podium, promise you, free education, promise you that your life will change, promise you that you will live in wonderland. And then exactly when they win the elections and come into place, you find people, the citizens, actually, yes, beggarly, for good governance. And that's where you find that the purpose of power is misused. And that's in that
yes, as Kudirat Abiola said once, she said, they left us more tattered than they found us.
Absolutely.
So I'm also thinking now, because I want to bring this conversation home. The title of your book is quite explicit, because, in Nigeria, when someone hears the word pussy, it could mean pusillanimity, which is like cowering, like you being a coward and all. It could also mean female genitalia. I know with all your history of fighting for gender and everything, I know you didn't use it, you didn't haphazardly, and you had a poise for using that. So,
absolutely.
So why was the title of your book so explicit?
I think that it's important for us to know that it's crucial to know that the existing perceptions against the female genitalia has been misused as a target, as a tool, as a pundit.
In science, as you said, scientifically.
Yes, scientifically. Yeah. And what that does is that it brings the shameless gimmicks of sexual exploitation to the fore, whereby rather than look at the strength of the female, you use it to debase her. I can tell you that up to 65% of women across the world who used to be in politics have either left the political space out of burnout or, online harassment. And the online harassment always takes the connotation or the interpretation of sexual,
harassment
online,
or assault.
Yes, or assault. And it starts from the demeaning words. It starts from the gender identities that play out around women, both on and offline. And these become stereotypes that often limit women from wanting to participate wholly. So that is the reason behind that. And it's for us to be awakened to these conversations to say, enough is enough. What are we afraid of? How do we now look at these terminologies and bring some sense of ownership and say, this is not who we are. It might be part of us, but it is for strength and not for weakness.
Okay, now I want to give you a minute with the camera to actually sell your book and tell Nigerians why they should buy your book. Yeah.
All right. So, the book is online. It's on Amazon. It's on Seller. It's on Okada. And you can also find it at Salamander Cafe if you are in Abuja. But I'll tell you that it's not just a book to read and enjoy. I think it's a book to read and unlearn. And for me, I think that's what's significant about it, especially for the male folks. I think I would love to see more men buy the books. I'm having a lot of female buy them, which is good. But I would love to see that the narrative change of, realigning their thoughts, to see women as collaborators, as, tag team partners, rather than competitors, would first of all be the inroad to the book. And then the real term on the real ideology of power and empowerment for women.
Okay, could you... In just a minute, you're a storyteller and you use your conga to tell a story. So could you just give me a minute of your conga storytelling?
Is there a minute for a story?
Yes, okay. There is. There has to be. There has to be.
All right. Okay, so let me see. I'll tell you a story about the poor woman, Nena, in a poor neighborhood. Okay. So once upon a time, in a country, in a land called Nada, was a very rich community, but there was one woman who was very poor with a daughter. They used to make healing pills through palm kernel leaves, and that was what they lived off. So one day, they couldn't sell even a kernel, and they went house by house, street by street, begging to find food to eat. The richest woman on the left threw her out with her daughter and said to her, "Away with you. Away with you. We do not have food for people like you." And alas, Nena and her daughter sat by the roadside until a man who looked like a healer came by them and said, "Why are you sitting on the floor, dear woman?" And she said, "I am hungry and I am almost dying with my daughter." And I think
I know why, because of Tinubu's administration. Yes, Adaora, seriously, it was so nice having you on the program. Thank you so much for bringing your expertise to Poetic Interlude and the
Thank
Weekend
you
Show.
so
We do
much.
appreciate your voice.
Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much.
much.
Thank
Okay,
you. Thank
over
you.
to Mr. Andy to end the program.
We need to bring her back. Complete that story. If not that we're running out of time, I was getting into the vibe of it. I love the drum, so we need to continue that story.
Thank you,
But
Eddie.
something which you've said and I've been thinking about is we need more male writers as well. Nigerian women are writing brilliant stories.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
it's good to see the tide change because we had them Chinua Achebe, Wole Soyinka and the likes.
Absolutely.
Now we see women doing brilliant stuff. I would personally like to read your book, which I
Please,
will.
please.
But Emeka, you need to bring her back to complete that story.
That would be nice.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. That's the much we can take on today's episode of The Weekend Show.